You might not expect it, but right now, Ukraine is making some big moves in Africa. With the world's eyes glued to the war back home, Kyiv is actually rolling out an ambitious diplomatic campaign across the African continent, and it's all about reshaping alliances and countering Russia's long-standing influence. So why Africa? It comes down to this: Africa's growing geopolitical clout. More than ever, countries are realizing just how important African partnerships are, whether for trade, political support, or even food security. And for Ukraine, building bridges beyond its traditional Western allies isn't just smart, it's essential. Let's look at what Ukraine is actually doing. Since 2022, they've ramped up their diplomatic presence, opening 8 new embassies across Africa. We're talking places like Mauritania, Ivory Coast, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. That brings Ukraine's total to 18 embassies on the continent. These aren't just symbolic, they're platforms for everything from delivering aid to negotiating political deals. But maybe the most visible part of Ukraine's Africa strategy: food. Enter the Grain from Ukraine program. This isn't just about charity, it's food diplomacy in action. With help from the EU and the World Food Program, Ukraine's shipped almost 300,000 tons of grain to 12 African countries, places like Somalia, Ethiopia, Nigeria, and Sudan. At a time when global food supplies are shaky, this positions Ukraine as a critical, reliable partner. It also puts them toe-to-toe with Russia, which has long used its own grain exports as a bargaining chip. And it's not just about food. In Mauritania, Ukraine's embassy has overseen food aid deliveries to refugees and even offered to train local soldiers. That's a big deal, especially when you consider Russia's military presence in Africa, often through shadowy contractors like the Wagner Group. Ukraine is offering a more transparent, cooperative approach, sharing battlefield knowledge and new technology. Diplomacy hasn't stopped there. In April 2025, President Zelensky made a historic visit to South Africa, his first ever to the continent. That trip was all about boosting trade ties and connecting with Africa's own history of resistance. Zelensky drew parallels between Ukraine's fight for sovereignty and Africa's anti-colonial struggles, hoping to tap into shared values. But let's be real, Ukraine faces some tough obstacles. Russia's been a fixture in Africa for decades, with nearly 40 embassies and deep commercial ties. Many African nations have a long history with Moscow, and some just aren't sure where to stand. Plus, Ukraine's resources are stretched thin by the ongoing war. Still, this is a big shift in Ukraine's foreign policy. By focusing on food security, diplomacy, and shared values, Kyiv is carving out a bigger role for itself on a continent where global powers are jockeying for position. Will it pay off in the long run? Time will tell. But Ukraine's definitely raised its profile, and that matters. If you found this breakdown useful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more global stories that matter.